Hey, my name's Jonathan Hedel and I make music as Pink Buddha, and my channel's all about music production with a new video each week. Today we're going to mess around using the MPC One with some of my modular gear. These are all my percussion modules. I have another unit that's got some effects and other things like that, but I'm leaving it out for today. If you're not familiar with the MPC One, or you have one and you're trying to learn about using modular, I'll give a quick explainer on how that works, and then I'm just going to mess around getting creative with using this together. So the MPC One has four main ways that you can manipulate CV. They have the CV port, which is a little confusing, but it's basically what pad that you're hitting, the pitch. It has the gate port, which is sending out the trigger signal, which you can plug into anything that you want to. And then it has the modulation wheel, which is great if you want to program in some automation. And then you have the velocity port, which is basically how hard you hit these pads. Now on the back of it, it looks like there are just 4 outputs, but there's actually 8. To access 5 through 8 though, you need a stereo plug with a splitter so that you can have 2 coming out of it. I don't have those, so I'm just going to do 1 through 4. You know, I really like how easy it is to set up the CV on the MPC One. You just go to the track, you just simply click on the CV name, super easy, and then create a CV program. The advantage with creating some different programs is if you put some effort into configuring this and you want to come back to it later, that's a great way of doing so. Now you might be asking why, if the MPC One can have so many great sounds on it already, why would you ever want to use it with modular gear? I can only answer that for myself, and the number one reason is knobs. You have this degree of manual control over things that makes it feel like an instrument. Sometimes when I'm using something like the Force or the MPC One or even Ableton, it feels like I'm using a program rather than something that has a lot more tactile feel to it and dedicated knobs for certain things. The other reason is you have the ability to patch and configure these things with so much creativity. Really, you're only limited by your imagination and I guess how much money you have, because these things can get pretty expensive. All right, let's jump right in. So with percussion modules, basically all you need is a gate, if that's where you wanted to start with. So I'm going to start with the gate on CV port number 2. I simply plug that into the trigger on this module. This is a great module, by the way, the SSF Entity. It's a percussion synthesizer and all analog, and why I like it is because it has so many nuances that you can control, so many CV controls to change this sound. All right, so now that I got it plugged in, when I hit a pad, it's going to trigger this here. I haven't hooked up the CV port, so it doesn't matter which pad that I hit, it's not going to change the pitch at all. And if I wanted to leave it just as that, that would be great too. But this module does have CV controls, so I'm going to go to the first output, which is configured for CV1, and put that into my 1 volt per octave on this module. Now, one thing that's really weird about the MPC One, I don't understand why on bank A, I don't know if it's the pitch is too low, but all these on bank A, B, and the beginning row of C just come out the same pitch. So it's not until you get to C that it actually starts changing the pitch on it. And let's just start off with making this really traditional. So I'm going to take the velocity port out, number 3, which is my blue one, to the amp CV controls on this module, which allows me to be able to control the volume. So now the harder I hit it, the louder it's going to get, softer, etc. All right, I'm going to record something in. I might start messing around with some of the velocities on this. I'm going to make some of these ones a little bit louder here. First hit, I want to be a little bit more. All right, let's have a little bit more fun with this. And I'm going to hook up the 4th CV to this ring CV controller here. Well, let me show you what it sounds like first. So the ring is how long this particular percussion module rings out. So when the knob's turned down, it sounds very short. Turn the knob up. So let's automate that. So I'm going to take the CV one here and go to ring CV. I need to make sure that for the CV that on the modulation wheel, I have that on CV number 4, which I do already. And I'm going to go back to our track here, open up the automation, and then change this from velocity to add a new one. And then I'm going to do program CV4. And we're going to go to CV4 out. Okay, great. So now I can just draw on the automation. So when I want it to ring out more, let's have it ring on the bottom note. I'm going to go to pen and write that in, and then short on those top notes and go with something like this. Okay, let's add some drums to this. I'm going to go back to maybe to track number 2. I already pulled up some hip hop ones in here. Oh, that's right. I had to be on bank number C. Got to go back to bank A. All right. Okay, kind of now wishing that I had 4 splitters so that I could do some other controls on here, because I love to be able to mess around with this noise that's going on. Or this harmonic sound. All right, let's use some of these CVs for something else. I'm going to get rid of the amp controls because I don't know if the volume change is that important for this. Let's take that out and take out the controls for the ring. We'll add another track here. So I've got a track number 3 and change that to CV and use a new CV program because I don't want to mess up the other one that I have. And I'm going to change just going to use the gate here, and I'm going to need to go to number 4 because I'm already using 1 and 2 and 3. Well, 1 and 2. Well, let's use number 3. Okay, done for that. And I'm going to go into 3. Let's use blue. And I'm going to go into this other module here, this Drips module, which has got some other cool, wacky percussion stuff to it. Let's take this CV number 4, and I could either control that by how hard I hit it. Let's see what that happens when I do that. That's kind of cool, nicely expressive. Could also turn that off and do from the CV port, which meant whatever pad that I play is going to change it. That's pretty cool. Let's try that out. getting a little weird there for a second. The weird thing about CV, because you're dealing with electricity, is that sometimes you can end up in these funny feedback loops, and I feel like there's something else from one of these other two that's kind of feedbacking in here. I kind of like how it sounds, but thing can be so unpredictable sometimes. I feel like there's something else that's going on electrically, but I don't know, it's making some cool sounds. What I would probably do in this situation is hook it up to Ableton and then just record this beat and let whatever happens happens, and then sort through and find the parts that I really like. I'm trying to get this XY pad going over here so I can play with that even more. Maybe doing, let's turn these down for a second so I can hear what's coming out of this. Okay, that's pretty cool. Fun. I have to say the MPC One does have some very nice and easy controls for CV. I really wish that I had the splitter because I feel like I could do more with that. I did notice that sometimes there was some weird electrical stuff going on, and with regard to the modulation, I kind of couldn't get it to work really well coming from here, which should make sense that you should be able to do some automation, but it felt a little screwy. I had to kind of use my own gear over here, but it's a great way for using pitched stuff and also velocity, because that's one thing that a lot of modular gear doesn't do very well, is translate velocity. And you have that great option here, not just to do pitch, but to have it be based upon how hard you're hitting it, and that is a parameter that gets introduced into your modular mix that I would normally get. So I do think it's pretty interesting to use this, and it's easy to use. I'm actually using the Force as my brain for the modular set rather than the MPC One, and maybe I'll create a video about that. If I have, it's already going to be up here. Alright, thanks for following along. I hope this has been useful to you if you're into modular gear or just production in general, seeing how I work through something. Consider hitting the subscribe button if you don't want to miss out on the next video.